It is the third game of the day at the Woodlands Astro at Bishops. Match 3 sees the second team of the host side, Bishops, playing host to the second side of Paul Roos in the maroon jerseys from Stellenbosch. We've had 2 games prior to this one, the under 14As and the under 16As. Both results have gone the way of the visitors, so it's up to the second side of Bishops to right things a little bit. As we look at the Paul Gymnasium second side, in goal for them will be Justin Mulder, Andre Becker, Cameron de Klerk, Ryk Morton, Skalk Björkes, Louis van der Berg, Ben Blau, Philip Joubert is the captain, Tian van der Westhuizen, Heinrich de Blanche, Jared Karam, Ulrich Waite, and Dominic Leder and Tis Becker. That is how the Paul Roos side will line up as we head on over to the home side, Bishops. It is Nicholas Bradford in goals for them. Hayden Dempers, Robert Dow, Rourke Dyer, Leonard Fall, Christopher Hodgson, Abdul Kerbelka, Matthew Lewis, Benjamin McFarlane, Matthew Malan, Alec Rippon, Thomas Sommer Jaltz, Philip Smith, Isaiah Son Pather, and Matthew Tripe. The 15 men for the home side that'll try and get their school on the W list. They are trailing on the bigger spectrum of things. They are trailing 2-0 with Paul Roos claiming the under 14 and under 16 matches, as I mentioned earlier. And if anything is to go, if we are to do anything from what has happened before in those 2 matches, we're certainly set for another humdinger. We've had 2 exceptional games of hockey right here on Supersport Schools on our YouTube page, and please do spread the word that we are on the DSTV Now app on channel 247. You can certainly follow us on all the social media handles on the screen right now. Please do interact with us. Let us know if you're watching this match and where you're watching it from. If you have any sort of allegiance to one or more of the boys on the field, certainly look forward to interacting with you. We do miss you on the side of the field. We do miss the gees, do miss the atmosphere, but that obviously not being around, do let us know what is happening as we get ready for this under 19 matches, the second teams of the schools, and the one coming up after this is the big one. All in the build up to that massive game in a little bit over an hour from now, when the first sides go up against each other, but we'll park them for the time being as the umpires just ensure that everything is ready before we can get the game underway. So then it's the men from Stellenbosch, Paul Roos, that gets the game underway. They'll be playing from left to right on your screens, wearing the maroon sweaters and navy blue shorts. And the home side, Bishops, they'll start the game on the right hand side and try and score in the left hand goalposts. They're wearing the navy blue tops with the sky blue trim. Traditional outfits then for both of these sides. Pretty sure that this opening few minutes of the first half will be just one where they try and feel each other out. For Paul Roos, added to that will be trying getting used to the surface. But it is Bishops who get the first entry into a danger zone. Dangerous ball in from Bishops, trying to penetrate the circle on the right hand side, and unfortunately for them, the Paul Roos defense is up to the challenge and up to task as they now try and get themselves out of their 23, but this high press from Bishops is making it a little bit tricky, but the space does open up, and nice touch and turn from Paul Roos. Right link trying to make the connection with the outside half. Fortunately, the pass a little bit too much on it. Paul does go out to the sideline, but the two of them can link up and get the right half to overlap. There will be plenty of questions asked of the Bishops defense. So Bishop's turn now to get a bit of possession. But they do spill it just on the 23, and it's Paul Roos that comes away with it. Now try and get into the circle through the left-hand side. Nice work down that left-hand baseline, and fortunately though, just a little bit too much on it. Tries that extra step and it gets away from him. So both sides then have had a circle entry. Neither's able to get anything from it in the opening 3 minutes of this game. It's been up and down stuff from both sides, both in possession, coughing up possession. See once again on the counter attack comes Paul Roos. Space on the right hand side on the outside, and he sees it. Looks like there's plenty of speed in those legs as he makes his way through 3 defenders and gets the foot just outside the circle. Paul Roos takes it quickly, fires it into the P spot. The ball's loose. Calm and composed from the Bishop's defender. Sees him get the ball out of the way as Paul Roos maintain possession, and it's almost all the players inside the Bishop's half as Paul Roos defense tries to launch something from the halfway line, but it's cut out by the Bishop's defenders just outside of the circle. And another attack comes to nothing for Paul Roos. Bishop's not afraid to try the long ball and try and bypass the links and get the ball all the way from the defense up to the strikers. So if you've just joined us, it is the second teams that are currently on the field. Second team of Bishops who play host to Paul Roos. We've had 2 games prior to this with the under 14s getting things going, and that went the way of Paul Roos. And the game just before this was the under 16 game. High-paced game, end-to-end stuff. And neither side wanting to take the loss. And in the end, it actually was the visitors who managed to squeak by 3 goals to 2. So that leaves Paul Roos in the bigger scheme of things. They're leading the overall hockey stats with 2 victories to none. The only 2 games left today is the one that's currently underway, second side, and in a little less than an hour's time we'll see the first sides grace the field. We do know more often than not that it's all about the first teams. That's where the bragging rights happen. If your side can win that game, you're not going to hear the end of it from the opponents for the rest of the year. But as things have been for much of the afternoon, it's been end-to-end hockey from both sides. It's been this sort of game where double tackles coming in, players having to use their individual skill to get themselves out of danger. And more often than not, they've been up to task. Certainly been an excellent picture for the game of hockey right here at the Woodlands Astro at Bishops. It's the start of an exciting weekend of sports action here with Super Sports Schools. Remember, you can also follow us on the YouTube page as well as DSTV Now app, channel 247. That's where all this action is being streamed to. That's where you can see these young men in action. It's definitely nice to see them back on the field, back doing what they love, being active. Back to the action we go. So Paul Roos have been in possession for most of this opening 7 minutes, though not many circle entries for them. Majority of the play being played between the 23s of both sides. So it's definitely a case of the defenders and the link line trying to outmaneuver each other, trying to get the ball through the defense and to the strikers, to the men that's close enough to the circle. As we know, in the game of hockey, you can only score when you're inside that circle. So to try and get the ball there, got to go through quite a number of players. Bishop's happy to keep the ball at the back and work it around, but the high press from Paul Roos does the business on this occasion, putting the left half of Bishop's under a little bit of pressure. You know that little bit of pressure is all you need in this game, and it'll force a little bit of a bobble. As the ball, as we've seen from both sides, whenever they've got a hit on the sideline, they're more than happy to send it around the back and try and change the channel. Bishop's coach then just barking some instructions to his players, trying to get them to get their angles correct and ensure that there's a pass available. Good work from that young man to get himself out of danger. Two defenders on him. Backed himself with his skill to get himself out of trouble and found the foot, which maintained possession for his side. So not much between these sides in the opening 9.5 minutes. It's been pretty much a game played between the links and the defenders, and not much action for the strikers of both sides. Not any circle entries to speak of, and no clear-cut chances in the early stages, but the sides are certainly still trying to find themselves and find their teammates. When we do have a circle entry like we just did, fortunately for the striker, the defender getting his stick in the way, and we do know that any sort of contact with the stick and not the ball, see you be penalized. So a half chance then for Paul Roos, and nothing to speak of for Bishops thus far. But we are still in the early stages of the game, and there's a bit of a breakaway here, loose ball. Unfortunately though, for Paul Roos, he's unable to capitalize. And a good pressure from Paul Roos in the left-hand corner for them. It's Bishop's right-hand corner. Possession changes hands on a few occasions, but it all ends with Paul Roos maintaining it in the inside the 23 of Bishops on that left-hand side. As we've seen time and time again, Bishop's defense stepping ahead in front of their man and getting themselves ahead of the ball. This is going to certainly be a game of attrition, with neither side being able to find their way into the 23, get their way into the circle. Try and carve out some, or at least try and carve out a meaningful chance to get themselves on the board, which is why after the opening 12.5 minutes of the game, we see the score remaining locked at 0-0. Neither side able to test the goalkeepers. This one has turned out to be a chilly evening in Cape Town. It started off beautifully during the under-14 game. Sun was shining, pleasant conditions. Then as the under-16 started playing, the clouds started coming in over the mountain. As soon as the clouds got in the way of the sun, the wind brought in a little bit of chill. So it is cold on the sidelines. It is cold when you're sitting and waiting to see what is going to happen. But when you're out there on the field and you're running around, it's a lot warmer for you. So I'm sure the players, once they feel that they've settled in, nice and warm, and they're starting to find each other with the ball, things will start flowing. But here's a chance for Bishop's. Ball is loose. Shot comes in, and umpire says that made contact with the stick and not the ball, as Paul Roos defender gets his stick in the way to nullify that would be upright backstick chance for the home side. And with that chance not going away to the home side, we remain deadlocked at 0-0, but there is space now through the middle for Paul Roos. He does find the high-hanging striker. Tries to link up with the left link, but fortunately though, the Bishop's defender's in the way and gets his body on the line and has to take one for the team. But that does mean though that his side remain 0-0. That Paul Roos doesn't take a lead. As we've seen time and time again, this Paul Roos side, when they do have a sideline hit, they tend to want to go around the back. Try and keep the ball between the defenders, allow the links to move, allow the strikers to get themselves high up in the field. And when there is movement in midfield and up front, it's that sort of 45-degree balls on the inside that is the dangerous ones, and that will get you the attacking impetus and confidence you need to get yourselves up front. But as we've seen time and time again, the Bishop defenders up the task to keep Paul Roos on the back foot. But wild pass from Paul Roos, and there's a breakaway now for Bishop's. 2-on-1. Man available on the outside. The keeper steps out, cutters on the angle, goes on the back stick, and man, oh man, what a finish that is. Solid work from the striker, all stemming from a mistake from Paul Roos. Tried to get the ball around the back, and it's a loose one. Pounced on by the Bishop striker, who made his way upfield. Plenty of space ahead of him. Maybe got a little bit lucky there with the bouncy ball, but still had plenty to do. He had two defenders and the keeper. He held his composure and then rifled in that back stick shot. Went over the keeper's stick side, and the cover defense on the line was unable to get there in time. And all of a sudden, after a period where it looked like neither side was going to score, it takes one mistake that gets punished, and as the home side Bishops, after 16.5 minutes in this opening half, got a 1-0 lead. But that lead now is under threat as Paul Roos go down the left-hand channel, tries to drag it back and find a foot, and fortunately for Bishops, they are alive to it and manage to keep the ball off their feet to avoid conceding a short corner. Bishop's defense is certainly deserved of some oranges at halftime. They have managed to snuff out any sort of attack from Paul Roos. They have kept any sort of attack at bay and have ensured that the keeper has had not much work to do in the opening half of this game. You see, things are a little bit different in this game than it was in the under 16 game. It was the under 16s who played chukkers. They had 15 minutes in each chukker. The under 14s as well as the under 19 Bs, traditionally known as the second sides, they play 2 halves. So it'll be 2 halves of 25 minutes each. Before we revert back to the chukkers for the first team match coming up after this one, with this breakaway now for Paul Roos. They get into the circle. Doesn't control it first time, and that allows the Bishop's defense to get back into it, but neat work, beats 2 defenders, fires it across. The ball is loose on the line, cleared off the line. Fantastic work from the Bishop's defender there to firstly stop the ball, the dangerous ball across the face of goal, and then presence of mind to latch onto his ricochet and his rebound to get the ball off the line. This Bishop's defense has certainly stood strong in this last few minutes, with Paul Roos starting to grow in confidence and feel their way into the circle. See, once again the tackle coming in from behind. That's the initial one that caught the referee's eye, and a little bit of extra into it from that centre back of Paul Roos was just a little bit of frustration that his side is unfortunately not able for his strikers to get a goal. So a little bit of frustration being shown by the Paul Roos defender in that little instance, but hopefully we can keep that sort of thing out of the game for the remainder of what's to come. So then we enter the final 5 minutes of the opening half of the second team game between the home side Bishops and the visitors Paul Roos. It is the home side that's got a slender 1-0 lead after a fantastic backstick shot that found its way into the back of the net. Other than that, it's pretty much been a case where the game has been played between the 23s and not much action has been found inside the circle. Paul Roos, though, they did have an opportunity when they nearly got the ball over the line. Had it not been for some excellent work by the Bishop's defense, who've in this game have certainly been up to task. Anytime the Paul Roos attackers have tried to get through them, they've stood strong, and much like you see here, calm and composed on the ball, you know, not getting flustered by maintaining position inside the circle with the high press of Paul Roos. Just kept their side pretty much in it. That'll allow them to launch this sort of counter attacks as they look to go down the right hand side. Needle link up is on the baseline. Is area in the P spot. There's space. The little squeeze shot, unfortunately, going high and wide and creating a little bit of danger, says the umpire. So that chance goes begging for Bishops. Some good work by the Paul Roos link line and forwards to move around when the defenders have the ball. You do know that movement in the midfield and up front creates space. And when there's space, there's balls like that, very dangerous balls that can be found. Although it's what happens after that that has been the Achilles heel for the Spoorwa side in the opening half. They've been managing to get the ball up to the strikers. As soon as they get into the 23, the Bishops defense, more often than not, kept them at bay. It's been minimal circle entries from both sides. But be that as it may, it is Bishops, the second team, who holds a slender 1-0 lead in this game, and they'll be hoping that this game and getting a victory in this one is what turns the table for the home side in the bigger scheme of the 4 matches that are being played here this afternoon and evening. It is the side from Stellenbosch who claimed victory in under 14 game. They claimed victory in under 16 game. So they're 2 games up. And if Bishops can manage to turn things around in this one and get themselves on the right side of the scoreline, certainly set up an interesting encounter later on this evening. The first teams do battle right here on Supersport Schools. And find us on YouTube, on our YouTube page. You can also watch all of the action on the DSTV Now app. There's plenty of chatter and screams going on from the Bishops bench. After the ball struck a Bishops defender on his foot, umpire said that the opponent was within 5 meters of him, and duly awarded the short corner. But now the umpires come together and they have a little of a powwow considering what has happened, and we'll see what happens after this. It's very rare that umpires end up changing their decision, but that's why there's 2 of them there, for that exact reason, that if the one is unsure of a decision, can rely on his partner. So the initial decision of a short corner is reversed, and it's Bishops who maintain possession and try and get themselves upfield here on the left hand side, but the long ball is too quick for the player. We enter the final 30 seconds of the opening half. It's been a half where not much has separated the sides. They've both enjoyed equal possession, both had their chances, and it's come down to one chance taken by Bishops. An excellent opportunity. Breakaway, counter attack, nice little link up between the players. And that has been the difference then between the sides as the halftime whistle goes. It is the home side, Bishops, will head into the break with a 1-0 lead. We'll be back soon for the second half of this exciting encounter.
This is where it all started for me, in Hammersdale, a village just outside Durban. Grew up in a very traditional family. A few times in a while we have to go, you know, and do up the garden in the morning. I wouldn't think much of sports. Happened to play netball by chance. I went to go and watch my neighborhood friends at training, sitting on the side, just watching and supporting. There were 13 of them on the netball courts. They needed one player to fill in. I can remember one of them saying to the coach, ask her to fill in. From there, I had to borrow the shoes. The shoes were even bigger than my feet. I think I can remember that I wasn't even worried about the size of the shoes, but more of what I was going to do on courts. Pulled through that day. From there, it rolled on to being called to a national side.
Volume Zomi gets it into the shooter's hands.
Having to play overseas, I think all that journey actually created all of that. Now that I look forward into the future, I want to see more girls playing the sports. We need to find a way where we give them exposure. There's exciting stuff coming along. I think it's going to create a whole lot more vibe, and I have to be part of that, because believe me, one day the shoes will fit and the lights will find you.
Arguably one of the most deadly players on court right now.
So we're back for the second teams between Bishops and Paul Roos. Half a few chances, two clear-cut ones, and one of them has found the back of the net, and it's the home side Bishops that's got the 1-0 lead. Launched the counter-attack and took full advantage of some lapse in defense. Showed excellent composure to keep the ball under control, lined himself up with the back stick. Found the back of the net, which he was certainly pumped up about, and so was the rest of his teammates. For Roos, though, they did have the chance. After some excellent work down the baseline, the pass that went across the D was touched by the Bishops defender, and a mad scramble as the ball inched towards the line, and fortunately for the home side, he managed to clear the ball before it crossed the line, and that was probably the best chance for the visitors in this encounter. It is the home side Bishops that hold a slender 1-0 lead at the end of the opening half of the match between the second teams. It's the second half that is about to get underway. Coming up immediately after this game, it's the big one, the one that everybody looks forward to, with the first teams of both schools take to the field as the rivalry between the schools in the southern suburbs of Cape Town and those from the Woodlands district, on this occasion from Stellenbosch, is reignited. It's also fantastic to see that these players are back out on the field after what has been a troubling year and a bit. It's nice to see that these young men are wanting to remain active and play the sport that they love, and it's also fantastic that we can bring it to you. Of course, we're unable to have any spectators and fans on the side of the field, so we know the parents are usually here and they're packed out the stands. We're pretty sure that you are glued to your screen, either on our YouTube page, the Supersport Schools YouTube page that is, or on the DSTV Now app on channel 247. And that's where you can find all the Supersport Schools action, be it on the hockey field today. Tomorrow it's the turn of the rugby. It doesn't matter which sports code it is, as long as it's school sport. Supersport Schools will bring it to you live in the comfort of your own homes. But back to the action we go here in the opening minute of the second half of this game. Bishop showing that they are pretty comfortable keeping the ball at the back, wanting the Paul Roos defenders to try and move a little bit higher up the field, but they're keeping their discipline on this half-court press and just waiting for the right time to step things up a little bit, which they do, and force the turnover in the midfield. Now it's time for the counter-attack. Big ball down the right-hand side, but first touch not going the way of the right striker. That is a pretty tricky way to try and pick the ball up, running full speed on the backhand. So something for you to work on if you are a striker. It is something good to have up your sleeve. Definitely will improve on your skills as you progress through the ranks. So it seems as though the early tactic in the second half for Paul Roos is to sit back, allow Bishops to come at them, and when they do turn the ball over, try and launch any sort of attack on the counter. So try and get into the circle on the far right hand side of the field, but solid work in defense. These Bishops come away with it, but fortunately though, quick little turnover, the ball finds a foot. And it's a short corner to Paul Roos. That's the first short corner of the game, so we'll now get to see what side has to offer. So as Bishops gets himself ready with the protective gear, Paul Roos does the same to get the ball back in play. It's a good push and stop. Drag flick comes in low into the bottom corner. Ricochets off the defender's stick and smashes into his face. And that is exactly the reason why you have that protective face shield on for instances like that. But signs are there that Paul Roos does have somebody at the top of the D that can put some speed behind a drag flick. Goes again once to him. This time the stop isn't good, but excellent recovery from the drag flicker. This time decides to keep it low and flat. The ball smashes into the bottom corner. Excellent speed and placement from the young man. He gets his side on the scoreboard to level it out 1 apiece inside the opening 5 minutes of the second half. So it seems as though the early tactic by Paul Roos to sit back and play the game on the counter attack has paid off for them in the early stages. They found themselves inside the circle on a few occasions as they once again get in. P-spot! The attempted deflection is thwarted by the goalkeeper. At least the defender. See, the stop wasn't all that good, but he had the patience to wait for the ball to settle in his motion. And as soon as the ball hit the hook of the stick, he just knew exactly where he wanted to put it. He went low, he went hard, and he found the bottom corner. Certainly all Paul Roos in the opening stages of the second half. Bishops who are under pressure this time, and it comes after an opening half that was pretty much played between the 23s. Not much goal mouth action happened in that opening half, but after 5.5 minutes of the second half, it's been all the men in maroon. Pretty sure they got a bit of a stern talking to from their coach at that break. They seem like a completely different side that has come out in this second half. They seem a lot more confident with the ball on their stick. They are linking up with their teammates a lot better. And they're linking those passes nicely as well. They certainly are backing themselves when they've got the ball on their stick, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Bishops defense, and we see exactly what it does there. Very, very dangerous tackle, missing the ball, taking the man's feet out from underneath him, and umpire's got no other decision but to hand the visitors another short corner. Just having a look at the way they're setting up, it's again going to be a double castle for Paul Roos. Goes again to the drag flicker. He goes once more. Charged down by the first wave. This time getting himself quicker out of the blocks and quicker to the top of the D to snuff out that short corner. And the attempted drag flick is easily dealt with in the end. So Bishops, after that frenetic start, will just try to keep position a little bit more. Get some movement going in the link line and up front. For that exact reason right there, trying to open up the spaces in midfield, open up the spaces between the Paul Roos link line and defense. After scoring that goal, it seems as though every single player wearing a maroon jumper, his confidence has gone up a level or two. Now they're all backing themselves when they've got the ball in hand to make something happen, as once again the counter-attack is on, but this time the Bishops defender is quick to it. He gets ahead of his man, snuffs out the attack, and plenty of space on the right-hand side for Bishops, but chooses to keep the ball, chooses to maintain possession rather than try and force the tempo of the game. Just want to slow it down at the moment, allow the players to recoup a little bit. So again, another chance for Paul Roos, trying to take advantage of a mistake in midfield by Bishops. But fortunately for the home side though, nothing comes of the attack, and Paul Roos will have to start things all over again from inside their own half. The intensity from the visitors has certainly gone up a few notches. You can just see it in their body language, you can hear it in the chatter. Players are becoming more vocal, starting to work for each other. That's usually what happens when you get a goal early in the second half, especially a goal that brings you back level. That does leave you a little bit susceptible though at the back, that you become a little bit complacent, a little bit too confident. That's going to allow your opposition to pounce on anything that does not go your way. As Bishops turn the ball over, which is something we've seen quite a bit in the game, as high turnover account. And you know, when both sides wanting to play attacking hockey, there's certainly something that you'll see a lot of. And the key there is where you turn the ball over. You don't want to be turning the ball over inside your 23 or just outside your 23. You don't want to be turning the ball over in the middle of the field either. So if you do that, you're immediately on the back foot, and it's your opponents that, or at least your opponents who can launch an attack from that spot. So Paul Roos are persisting with this half-court press, where they're just hanging back and allowing Bishops to play the ball at the back. But the ball does get through somehow, and once again, that Bishop striker bouncing on a loose ball. And somehow, someway getting it past the keeper. Singing the praises of the Paul Roos defense. But the gap opened up for Bishops. They played the ball through the middle. When it's in the circle, anything can happen. As Bishops regain the lead with around 13 minutes to go in the game. Patience from the Bishops defenders. He spots an opening, sends the long ball. Nice little deflection which gets into the circle, and quick to pounce is the striker. Little bit of a wounded rabbit that just bounces over the keeper's shoulder. He's got his second for the game, and he's certainly letting the opposition know about it. It's the Bishop's second side that's taken the lead again for the second time in the game. Just as we spoke of confidence in the Paul Roos outfit after scoring their goal, getting themselves level. Pretty sure that much of the same is going to happen with this Bishop side after regaining the lead that they took early. Or at least halfway through the opening half of the game, but complacency on the ball sees him spill it as Paul Roos counter-attacks, get the foot once again, and it's another short corner, and it's dangerous times for Bishops. Needs steal from the striker, gets himself into the circle, and then nonchalantly plays the ball onto the opponent's foot inside the circle. It's a short corner then. It's certainly dangerous times for this Bishops defensive battery, because we've seen this Paul Roos attacking team scoring before. This time it goes to the Newcastle, and he has a drag. And for the second time in the game, Paul Roos have managed to get themselves back into it. They've drawn themselves level. And for the second time in the game, it's through a short corner, it's through a drag flick. It's probably something certainly the Bishops did not expect. It's the captain of the Paul Roos second side. He set himself up on the inside. Plenty of space on the keeper's stick side, and he spotted it. Got enough pace behind the ball. The placement was there as well. For the second time in this game, it's Paul Roos that have fought their way back from a goal down. We're all level at 2 apiece with just over 10 minutes to go in this game. It is the third game of the afternoon at the Woodlands Astro at Bishops. It is the second sides that are up against each other. It is Paul Roos that have made the trek up the N2 from Stellenbosch and fulfill the fixture here in the southern suburbs of Cape Town. Certainly these kind of matches that it reignites the rivalry between schools from the Western Province and the Woodlands regions. It's nice to see that they're all back, and that the traditions and the rivalries between the schools are back at it once again. Two matches have been played before this one. Got things underway with the under 14A side. On that occasion it was Paul Roos that managed to claim victory. Quickly followed that up with the under 16A boys that took to the field. Once again it was the men from Stellenbosch that claimed victory in that game. Now we find ourselves in match number 3 in the second half with just under 9 minutes to go, and it's even Stevens, as they say. So the home side Bishops have scored 2 opportunistic goals off of mistakes and errors from the Paul Roos outfit. And for the men from Stellenbosch, it's been 2 goals that have come the way through a short corner, at least through 2 short corners. Both of them being drag flicks. 2 different scorers though, as they've been setting up a double castle on each short corner. First one came from the far side and the second one from the near side. There's been absolutely nothing to separate these teams. As we say that, another error from the Paul Roos defenders sees them give up a short corner. If memory serves, should be the first short corner for Bishops. First time we'll get to see their attacking battery in action. So then, as Paul Roos settle themselves in, referee blows his whistle to indicate that play can resume. It's a good push. It's a bit stop. But fantastic work from the defensive battery of Paul Roos. Sees them nullify that attack and maintain things at 2 apiece in this exciting encounter between the 2 second teams. Once again, Bishops gets himself into the circle. Manages to find the foot of the defender to earn themselves another short corner. So they've got a chance now to get themselves ahead for the 3rd time in the game. See, neat little work. Finds a space in behind the defender and sort of a fake shot with the defender taking his eye off the ball. Wasn't able to see it trickle its way onto his toe. Referee, or at least the umpire, saw it. Duly awarded the short corner. It's another good push and stop. It's a straight flick, and it comes off the defender's stick, rockets into the roof of the net. The umpire calls time, he's unsure, but I am more than certain that it will be the home side Bishops that have taken the lead for the 3rd time in the game. Sure, there must be few people wondering what has happened there. How can they allow the goal? Well, if a hit is taken inside the circle of a short corner, it must hit the backboard unless the ball is deflected by another striker or it comes off a defender's stick. And that is exactly what happened on that occasion. The ball rocketed off the first wave stick. Too much speed and power behind it. Unfortunately for the keeper, could do absolutely nothing about it. So with around 5.5 minutes to go in the game, for the 3rd time in this match, it is the home side Bishops that take a slender 1-goal lead as they find themselves 3 goals up against Paul Roos's 2. While Bishops' goals have all come, at least 2 of them have come from open play. It was the first time that they've managed to get a goal from the short corner, their 2nd short corner of the game. The first one not going according to plan, but the 2nd one most certainly did, and we're in for an exciting final 5 minutes of this match between the 2nd teams of Bishops and Paul Roos. Neither side have been given an inch. It's at least a game that has certainly come to life in the 2nd half. First half was a game of attrition, a game where both teams were trying to get themselves into the opponent's 23 and into the circle. Circle entries were few and far between. Chances in front of goal were even fewer than that. It was Bishops that went into the half-time break with a 1-0 lead. Back came Paul Roos. And it was Paul Roos who managed to level things early in the second half. Bishops then went 2 goals to 1 up. Once again, Paul Roos fought their way back through a 2nd drag flick to level matters once again at 2 apiece. And as we've just seen, Bishops took the lead for the third time, 3-2, but Paul Roos now the excellent chance down the right-hand side. And good save by the keeper, coming off his line to close down the angle, stopping or at least thwarting that attack. Paul Roos once again in position on the right-hand side. So then as the clock ticks away towards the final 3 minutes of the game, things were done a little bit too hastily for Paul Roos on this occasion, and they cough up position. That's certainly something that Bishops would want to see. Paul Roos making slight mistakes in the final few minutes of the game, allowing them to regain possession. We know if you've got possession, your opponents can't score, but here comes another breakaway for Bishops. Top of the circle, it's a one-on-one. Defender stands firm though. Thwarts that attack. Ever for Paul Roos, they've got to try and get the ball to the other side of the field. They are trailing by 3-2. Some space for them now here in midfield. Unfortunately though, nothing comes of it as Bishops turns the ball over. As we say that, it's another double turnover. Here come Paul Roos down the right hand side, and as we've had for much of this game, it's been turnover after turnover. 3-on-2 situation for Bishops. Once again, solid defense and an even better tackle in midfield. Spills it. Plenty of space on the right hand side if he can get the ball to his fellow teammate, but once again, the attack being thwarted. This is probably what Bishops wants to see. They want to see themselves in possession, and in position high up in the field, inside the Paul Roos 23. Just eat away time, consolidate your one-goal lead, ensure that you manage to pick up the win for your school. It'll be, if it does stay this way in the final 60 seconds, it'll be the first win of the day for the home school after going down in the under 14 and under 16 game. Chance in the final minute for Bishop, straight through the middle, keeps his footing. But the referee does penalize Paul Roos for a dangerous tackle. And as the clock ticks away to the final 30 seconds of the game, pretty sure the Bishops players will take their time to get this short corner set up and get things going. It seems right now that the result is certainly going to go the way of the home team. Referee not liking what he saw with the amount of time Bishops was taking to get that short corner going, and brandishes the old custard slice to the young man. It's probably going to do little to the result as the final few seconds ticks away in this encounter between the two second teams. Paul Roos is telling me to eat my words as a quick little counter attack down the right hand side gets them in the circle. They do get the ball onto the Bishop's foot, so this is certainly going to be the final play of the game, as the referee certainly does blow that whistle. We do know that if a game ends and a short corner has been awarded, the short corner has to be played out, so it's all going to hang on this one for Paul Roos. Find themselves one goal down with one final chance. We do know that both of the goals were scored from the short corner from either side of the castle. Both prolific drag flickers. It goes to the far side. It's a spill from the stopper. Two defenders up high. It's still a short corner. And Bishops have managed to scramble the ball away, get it over the baseline. And that is that. It is all over between the second teams of Bishops and Paul Roos. It is the home side, Bishops, that have claimed the 3-2 victory as we see the final play of the game. Mad scramble inside the circle in that final shot, going agonizingly wide for the visitors. An exceptional game of hockey comes to an end between the second teams of Bishops and Paul Roos. On this occasion, it's Bishops that takes the game 3-2. It's all building up to the final game. Takes place immediately after this one. It's a massive encounter between the Bishops first side, the Paul Roos first team. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to us as we bring you that match in just a moment.
This is where it all started for me, in Hammersdale, a village just outside Durban. Grew up in a very traditional family. A few times in a while we have to go, and do up the garden in the morning. I wouldn't think much of sports. Happened to play netball by chance. I went to go and watch my neighborhood friends at training, sitting on the side, just watching and supporting. There were 13 of them on the netball courts. They needed one player to fill in. I can remember one of them saying to the coach, ask her to fill in. From there, I had to borrow the shoes. The shoes were even bigger than my feet. I think I can remember that I wasn't even worried about the size of the shoes, but more of what I was going to do on courts. Pulled through that day. From there, it rolled on to being called to a national side.
Zomi gets it into the shooter's hands.
Having to play overseas, I think all that journey actually created all of that. Now that I look forward into the future, I want to see more girls playing the sports. We need to find a way where we give them exposure. There's exciting stuff coming along. I think it's going to create a whole lot more vibe, and I have to be part of that, because believe me, one day the shoes will fit and the lights will find you.
Arguably one of the most deadly players on court right now.